Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of True Crime with Kendall Rae. Thank you so much for joining me today. And if you're new to the show, then welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. And make sure you click subscribe so you never miss an upload from me. Well, guys, today I'm going to be telling you about a case that is very active and very recent. This just happened in June of 2025. Today, we're going to be talking about the very upsetting murder of a very young woman, only 18 years old. Her name is Marissa DiNapoli. And God, this one is just absolutely devastating. And this actually came in as a suggestion from so many of you. And as soon as I looked into the case and read some of the details, I knew I wanted to shed some light on this case. Marissa's life was just starting when it was taken from her. And the circumstances really bring up a conversation that I feel you can really never have too many times. And that is surrounding domestic violence. And every time we go over a case where domestic violence comes up and we discuss it, the comments on these episodes just destroy me. I mean, the things that so many of you guys have been through and your survival stories, it just makes me so emotional. And I just in advance want to say thank you for sharing your stories as well, because it helps so many others that are still going through it or have been through it and want to have support. And it just means so much. And before we get into today's case, I do want to go ahead and reach out to Marissa's family. If you see this, we've already reached out to you as well via email. My team has, but we do want to offer you a HOPE grant if you're interested. Now, you'll hear me explain later in the episode that they're not necessarily looking for financial support, and they have publicly said that. So if you guys are not interested, we totally understand, but we are here and want to support you guys in whatever way we can if you need or want it. And if you're new here and you don't know what I'm talking about, a HOPE grant is something that I offer victims' families through my foundation, Higher Hope. I started my foundation in September of last year, and we offer one-time financial assistance to victims and families of victims of violent crime, as well as other nonprofits who work in the victim advocacy space. So if you ever hear me mention that I'm offering a family a HOPE grant, that's one of two grants we offer through the foundation. The other type of grant we offer is called an Empower grant, and that goes towards other nonprofits. And if you're interested in finding out any more information about Higher Hope and the work we do, and also ways to get involved and donate, we would greatly appreciate it. You can do so by clicking the link in my description box. And 100% of donations goes directly to support victims of violent crimes and their families. So we're very, very grateful for all of the support we've gotten so far. And if you're up for helping us continue our work, that would mean a lot to us. You can learn more by going to higherhope.org or following our Instagram account at higherhope.org. But anyway, before we get into today's case, I need to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, Grammarly, because it's thanks to their support that we're able to continue funding grants through the Higher Hope Foundation. Do you guys ever have those times where you discover something and all you can think about is how badly you wish you had discovered it sooner? Well, that's me with Grammarly Pro. Now, if you have never used or even heard of Grammarly, it's an AI writing partner that sounds like you, not AI, that conveniently works where you work. So you can craft quality writing faster across multiple different platforms. And you may know them from their spelling and grammar features, but trust me, there's so much more to it than that. When you upgrade to Grammarly Pro, there are so many different features that I use every single day that I don't know how I ever functioned without. One thing that I've always struggled with, one thing I am super guilty of, is using run-on sentences, especially when I'm talking to my team on Slack. I just, have a lot to say, and sometimes it's hard to get my exact message across. But with Grammarly Pro, I'm able to highlight a section of text and a feature will pop up that lets me rewrite full sentences for clarity, which helps make my message more clear and effective with just one click. And I also really love their setting goals feature. This tool customizes my writing suggestions so that regardless of who I'm talking to, the suggestions fit the context of my voice based on the goals that I set. You can set the formality, the tone, and even your profession. Oftentimes, I'm juggling multiple conversations at once, whether I'm responding to people over email or I'm talking to my husband, my team, my managers. And so it's been so helpful to have Grammarly Pro to help me adjust based on the person that I'm talking to. Grammarly Pro has seriously changed the game for me and for my entire team. I highly recommend it. So sign up and upgrade to Grammarly Pro to level up your productivity. You can use my link for 20% off Pro at grammarly.com/Kendall08. Once again, huge thanks to Grammarly. And with that, let's get into the case. So as most of you guys know, I really like to start these episodes by telling you as much as I possibly can about the victims for many different reasons. Obviously, I want to highlight who they were as a person, not just focus on their murder. But also, I just think it helps to feel a little more connected to them and really understand and honor their lives. Unfortunately, with Marissa's case, it's a bit challenging because this is so recent. There isn't that much information available about her, but there are a couple things I can tell you though, starting with the fact that Marissa was born on May 14th, 2007, and she was the youngest of 8 siblings. And the DiNapoli family was actually her adoptive family after she and her siblings spent some time in foster care due to some challenges that their family was facing. And they grew up in the beautiful San Francisco South Bay area, specifically in Morgan Hill. And if you've been tuning into this show for a while, that might actually ring a bell. And that's because Morgan Hill is where 15-year-old Sierra Lamar was murdered back in 2012. And I covered her case a little less than a year ago. And man, that has just always stuck with me. It's such a heartbreaking case. And to this day, you guys, her body has never been recovered. Luckily, there was an arrest in the case, but her family still doesn't have total closure. And I'll be sure to link that episode in the description or show notes of this episode if you haven't tuned into that yet. So as you can imagine, the community of Morgan Hill has been through a lot. I mean, both Sierra and Marissa were very young women, just starting out their lives when everything was taken from them. And that is something that Morgan Hill will really never be able to forget. And in Marissa's case, she had just graduated from Opportunity Youth Academy on June 5th of 2025 and had her whole life ahead of her. She was registered to attend Gavilan College right there in Santa Clara County and had been working reliably as an employee at a local Starbucks. And I was able to find this quote from a teacher of hers, and wow, I mean, I just couldn't help but tear up when I first read this. It's really, really powerful. And I think it really speaks to who Marissa was. She said, "Every student in my class touches my heart, but her especially. She had the brightest smile that would light up every room. She was friends and friendly with everyone that came into our classroom. She's just one of those kids that leaves a mark on your heart, and I have a broken heart right now. I consider her one of my own children." I just thought that was so powerful coming from a teacher for her to basically feel that she is one of her own children. I mean, it really does tell you a lot about the type of person Marissa was. And she also said that Marissa was someone who did kind things for people in the community. And one specific example she gave was that Marissa would bring food to the homeless. And there was also a quote from a classmate of hers who said she was such a sweet individual. She never had any hate in her. She was very genuine, always had a smile on her face. She has been described by her loved ones as ambitious, as caring, resilient, very, very sweet. And I think all of those qualities about her would have really set her up to live a very successful, happy life had she been given the chance. But on June 29th, 2025, her life was stolen from her because of one evil, sick human being. So going back to late June, which just feels like yesterday. I mean, it was literally less than 2 months ago. Like I said, Marissa graduated high school and was working a job at a local Starbucks. And I feel like a lot of us who are over the age of 18 can look back at being 18 and sort of vividly picture ourselves and what that time was like. I mean, it's summer break, so there's a bit more freedom. You can kind of come and go more freely. And from what I can tell, that's kind of what it was like for Marissa around this time. On Saturday, June 28th at 9:16 p.m., she texted her parents that she was staying at a friend's house that night, but she said she'd be home by 8 the following day. However, the next day, the 29th, she never comes home. And she completely missed her shift at Starbucks, which was completely out of character for her. It seems that she was a very responsible person and wouldn't just not show up somewhere where she was supposed to be. So on Monday the 30th, family members ended up reporting her missing to the Morgan Hill Police Department, and it didn't take long for a person of interest to be identified. And that was her on-again, off-again boyfriend, 20-year-old Martin Mendoza.
All right, let's move now to developing news in Morgan Hill, where police are searching for an 18-year-old woman last seen Saturday. And now police are also looking for her boyfriend, who is considered a person of interest in this case. ABC 7 News South Bay reporter Dustin Dorsey has the latest on the investigation.
The Morgan Hill Police Department has opened a missing person investigation for 18-year-old Marissa DiNapoli. Her family has not heard from her since the morning of June 29th. DiNapoli told her family Saturday, June 28th, that she was staying with a friend for the evening and would come home the next day, but she has not been heard from since. Her family is asking for the help of local friends and residents to try and find her, including here at Uvalde County Park.
And just like Marissa, when it comes to Martin, there's not that much information available about him, although I really don't care to know much about the type of person he was. what I do know tells me everything I need to know, because what we do know is very concerning. And from what I've been able to gather, it sounds like the two of them had been sort of on and off dating for about 2 years when Marissa disappeared. And we don't know the full scope of their relationship, but we know that it was not a healthy relationship. And I don't know specifics, but I do know that there was definitely domestic violence taking place. In fact, and this is absolutely terrifying, but in the wake of what happened, her friends and family have come forward to say that Marissa was actually scared that Martin might kill her. She said that he was obsessed with her, that he's crazy, and she thinks he'd be willing to go to that extent. And according to her sister, Moniece, Marissa had been trying to get out of the relationship for a really long time, but he was just incredibly possessive of her, which led to her feeling unsafe around him. And Marissa sadly wasn't the only woman to experience this with Martin. I learned that another girl had an active domestic violence restraining order against him, which was granted in 2022. So pretty recently, just a couple of years ago. And it breaks my heart, but Marissa had every reason to be fearful of this monster. So I'm sure you've already put 2 and 2 together here that her friends and family likely knew that he was probably responsible for her disappearance right away. But actually, during the initial investigation, it was discovered that Martin was the last person with Marissa before she disappeared. And this was based off both cell phone records and the fact that a video camera captured the two of them together on the morning of June 29th. And in this video, they can be seen leaving Martin's house around 9:45 in the morning. And the audio from it, you guys, actually points to a possible motive. Take a look and listen carefully.
Why would you do that to me? I think you love me. Why would you text your ex?
So clearly, this is classic manipulation. I mean, saying, "I thought you loved me," right after accusing her of texting her ex. And the two of them, they're clearly in some type of argument as they're headed down the stairs there. And while we don't have the full context of the conversation, I think the short bit that was captured says a whole lot. And I think it's kind of interesting that this little bit happened to be captured, because I think it gives investigators a lot to work with. And I also personally feel that this really speaks to Martin's headspace on the morning that she was murdered. And the reports on it kind of vary. We're not sure if they were together or if they weren't, but it sounds like they were in one of their off periods, according to a lot of her friends. And if that's the case, and they weren't currently boyfriend and girlfriend, it makes you think that when she said she loved him, maybe she just did that because she was afraid of what he would do if she didn't. But whether or not they were dating, I guess doesn't really matter all that much in the end, because her efforts to calm him down sadly weren't enough, because this video is the last time that Marissa was ever seen alive. Not the case for Martin, though, because a day after Marissa was already missing, that same camera captured him walking down the stairs carrying what looks like a plastic bag. And we don't know what was in the bag, but we do know that he returned without her, despite the fact that her car was found still in the area of his house. And listen to this. After her loved ones had reported her missing, one of them got in contact with Martin. And I'm not entirely sure who it was, but I guess they asked where she was. And at first he tried to say he wasn't Martin, whatever that means. Like, yeah, you are. What are you talking about? But then apparently after that, he said that he hadn't spoken with her in like 2 weeks. Okay, what? We obviously know that's a lie, because we just watched a clip of you from the day before walking down the stairs with her. His behavior was so sketchy right away, and I'm sure there is more that we don't even know about yet at this point in time. But as you can imagine, it didn't take long for investigators to put it all together here and consider him a person of interest at the very least. And it also didn't take long to find her. However, it actually wasn't investigators who made that discovery. On July 2nd, just 2 days after her loved ones had reported her missing, a family and community-led search effort was taking place near Anderson Lake when someone who was flying a drone spotted what appeared to be human remains under a bridge. Law enforcement was quickly called, and they confirmed that it was, in fact, a human body.
Right now at 11, the command post is set up and the search for answers underway after a body is discovered near Morgan Hill. But is it Marissa DiNapoli? Law enforcement trying to confirm if that body is connected to the 18-year-old's disappearance. What they are telling us, It was DiNapoli's family who discovered the body at Anderson Lake. NBC Bay Area's Alyssa Gord is live tonight, just minutes away from that search site. And Alyssa, what have you learned?
Well, Jess, this has just been a heartbreaking night for Marissa DiNapoli's family. The sheriff's office confirming for us tonight that a body was found at Lake Anderson Park, but they have not said whether it's Marissa's body, as you mentioned. However, a law enforcement source tells us at NBC Bay Area that it was Marissa's family who found her body under a bridge. This all happened in a remote area of Lake Anderson Park down a windy road near the Lacey Anderson Dam. Now, Marissa was reported missing by her family on Saturday, and she was last seen on Sunday with Martin Mendoza, who her friends say is her ex-boyfriend. Police say that Martin was uncooperative with their investigation, and they've since been looking for him as a person of interest. Several of Marissa's friends told us they believe that Martin had hurt Marissa before, and they were worried about her.
Marissa has told me firsthand in the car with my friend and I outside of my house that he would kill her, that he would not stop, that he is obsessed with her and he's crazy, he's her, and he's willing to go to that extent.
Hearing her friends say that is just so chilling. I mean, Marissa knew that he was dangerous, and I'm guessing that she knew that in order to get him out of her life, to get away from him, she needed to be careful because, as we know, that is the most dangerous time to try and leave an abusive relationship. You have to do it so strategically and cautiously. And unfortunately, Marissa never got that chance to actually walk away. And I'm sure you heard in that clip that law enforcement was actively searching for Martin at this point because now they couldn't find him. Interesting. But what makes me so angry, though, and you're going to be pissed off when you hear this, law enforcement had their sights on him after Marissa was reported missing, and apparently they didn't do anything. And I will say at this point in time, details are a little bit fuzzy. I am recording this episode on August 1st, so I am trying to piece it together as best as I can. But to my understanding, on June 30th, after Marissa was reported missing, the Morgan Hill police were called to Martin Street for some kind of disturbance. And then during that interaction, a family member of hers was there, I'm guessing her sister, and told police that she was looking for Martin to confront him about Marissa being missing. Then I guess Martin just went into the house and wouldn't cooperate with police. So they had a family member telling them, hey, this dude is dangerous, my sister is missing, insinuating that maybe he's responsible. And despite Martin acting shady about the whole thing, they supposedly didn't do anything about it, which becomes a big problem. And reports say, quote, MHPD officers responded to Monterey Road for a disturbance involving multiple males knocking on the reporting party's door. The reporting party was neither a victim of a crime nor in need of further assistance. Across the street, officers spoke with a family member of Marissa who stated she was searching for Martin Mendoza to confront him about Marissa's whereabouts. During this interaction, officers observed Martin retreating into the reporting party's residence to avoid police contact. Like a little bitch. Okay, it didn't say that, but you know what I mean. So only after that did law enforcement's search efforts seem to pick up any steam. And several local news stations were now reporting that they were looking for Martin and his white Toyota Camry, and federal authorities even got involved in the search. In a press conference from the captain of the Morgan Hill Police Department, they announced that their investigation involved more than 30 officers from 15 different agencies, including the DA's office, the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office, the FBI, Homeland Security, and other Santa Clara County task forces, and that Martin Mendoza was someone they were seeking as a person of interest. Then, the next day, they confirmed that those remains that were found actually did belong to Marissa.
KTVU Fox 2 News at 5 starts now.
Good evening on this Thursday. I'm Christina Rendon. We begin with breaking news out of the South Bay. Morgan Hill police say today the Santa Clara County coroner identified a body found last night as 18-year-old Marissa DiNapoli. Her body was found last night near the Anderson Reservoir. She was last heard from on Saturday, and authorities say she was last seen with a man, Martin Mendoza, who is now being described as a suspect in the case. KTVU spoke with Morgan Hill police within the last 30 minutes, who told us Mendoza is not cooperating in the investigation.
We have 30 active investigators working on this. We are still trying to get a hold of Mr. Mendoza. We still want to make contact with him. We are actively asking for his cooperation. We've tried contacting him multiple times through his cell phone as well as his family, and he's yet to take the olive branch to speak with us.
Police searched Mendoza's home today but could not share what evidence officers found, if any. Officers say 30 investigators are actively working on this case right now and seeking out any new leads. Let's go now to KTVU's Aaron Dickens, who's live with the latest.
Yeah, this is a really heartbreaking story. We've spoken to so many people out in the community today that knew her and are very upset about that. And don't forget that police are still looking for a person of interest in this case. We are on Trail Drive right now. A lot of police activity here for the last 2 hours. Now, we pulled up to that house on the corner around 2:30 this afternoon, that beige house. They pushed us back and closed the road, and just now police have confirmed the home you are looking at right now is that of Martin Mendoza, ex-boyfriend of Marissa DiNapoli. Authorities are looking for personal items of both of them.
So it's very upsetting that her loved ones had to be the ones to actually find her body. And, you know, I've covered cases like that in the past, and it's just heartbreaking every single time. I truly cannot put myself in their shoes and imagine what that would be like. Now, after this, the community really continued to come together in support of Marissa's loved ones. A memorial was built in Anderson Lake, right near where her remains were found, and a vigil was put together to honor her life and memory.
But first, the tragic updates in the case of a missing 18-year-old.
Yeah, one day after Marissa DiNapoli was found dead near the Anderson Lake Bridge, her friends and family are holding a vigil. While tonight, police are still looking for her boyfriend, a person of interest since Marissa's disappearance last weekend.
ABC 7 News reporter Lauren Martinez shows you how Morgan Hill is remembering her.
She was really ambitious. You know, she was really caring.
The sisters of Marissa DiNapoli are remembering their baby sister as a kind soul. On Thursday, a vigil was held near Anderson Lake, not far from where Marissa's body was found. It was on Wednesday evening when the family search team made the discovery. Marissa's sisters pointed out it wasn't law enforcement.
If I don't see your people out there searching for my sister, you're gonna see my people out there searching for my sister.
On Thursday, Morgan Hill police confirmed it was 18-year-old Marissa.
It's been pretty heartbreaking and pretty devastating.
We spoke with one of Marissa's teachers, Tara Guerrero. Marissa just graduated high school on June 5th. Guerrero's SUV was packed with candles, flowers, and other supplies her students brought for Marissa's vigil.
You have a line of students next to you.
I do.
Tell me about the support.
The support they show for not only me, but the support that they show for each other is just something that a teacher could only dream of.
And that's all that matters, the community and the love that people had for this beautiful girl. And it doesn't matter if they knew her or not, how close they were, they still wanted to find her.
We spoke with Marcus Booker, a friend and former classmate of Marissa's.
Right now, I'm in shock. Right now, my heart is strong, but it's heavy.
The Starbucks Marissa worked at was closed on Thursday. Flowers and notes were left outside. A question on many people's minds: where is Marissa's boyfriend? Police say he is still a person of interest in her disappearance.
Have you been able to speak with him, and when was that?
We have not been able to speak with him.
Okay, there's been no contact at all. Do you know if he's still in the area?
We're not releasing that information at this time.
Also around this time, her family released a statement that they were deeply saddened by the loss of their beloved Marissa. And rather than financial contributions, they were seeking support through prayer, kind words, and cherished memories. Her brother also shared a really nice message about the community support, as well as a message directly to Martin, which I will play for you too.
We want to say thank you to the entire community from Morgan Hill, Santa Clara County, San Jose. This was a group effort. A lot of people, strangers that I didn't even know, came and, they volunteered to go and search for my sister. Obviously, the best case scenario would have been a different outcome, but just the fact that we were able to find her, even as it is, it means a lot for our peace. It means a lot to have been able to know where she was and to at least just get her back home, even under these circumstances. For Martin specifically, if you're out there, I am a man of the Lord, and you've made it very challenging for me to live up to my faith. But, I have been praying for you in this time, and it's hard, it's difficult. But, I pray that you turn yourself in.
So you can just hear from the way Moses is speaking that they are very confident that Martin is responsible. And wow, he has a lot more grace than I ever could in that situation. I mean, that's pretty incredible. The thing is, though, because Martin's not a man, he's
soft, overrated, pretty boy, a bitch.
I don't even know what to call him. And he did not turn himself in. Absolutely not. Instead, we learned that on July 7th, he fled to Mexico, but then he tried to re-enter the United States, which was ultimately when they were able to detain him. Brilliant, dude. Brilliant. So it turns out that he entered Mexico through the San Isidro border crossing on July 1st with both his car and his cell phone. And then he tried to re-enter days later on foot without his phone or car. And I am very curious to know if they have been able to find and recover that cell phone yet, or if they're ever going to be able to, because if he went all the way to Mexico to ditch it, clearly there was something bad on that, something incriminating on that phone. But either way, I mean, police are going to find what was on that phone, because Martin, I don't think he's the brightest of bulbs. I don't think this loser realizes that police don't need his physical phone to actually help connect him to the crime, okay? So using location data, they were able to track him after he and Marissa left his house on the 29th, after that video we saw, and that data showed them traveling together towards Anderson Lake on the day she was killed, and that's exactly where her body was found, as we know. So keep in mind, Anderson Lake is only a few miles away from his house, so they can place him there pretty much exactly when she died. It's not looking good for Martin. What I do want to know, though, is why leave? Why cross the border and then come back? How much more guilty can you make yourself look? How stupid can you make yourself look? Of course, I have to say, as I have to say with all cases that are in this phase, that he is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. But with the evidence that we have, just with what we know at this point, which is not that much, I'm sure there's more. It's pretty damning. I mean, let's go over it. He has a history of violence, a documented history of violence. He was at the crime scene when it happened. He doesn't speak with police after she was reported missing, and then he dips out a few days after and goes to Mexico. And not to mention, we have the video footage. Also, what was in that plastic bag that he was seen carrying on the 30th? Did that go to Mexico with him too? I'm curious. I do wonder if that was possibly the murder weapon, because as of right now, they haven't said whether or not it was found. And I certainly think it could be. Again, that is completely my speculation. There's no evidence of that, but I don't know. Maybe it was. And it really just breaks my heart to have to say this, but that weapon had to have been a knife, because we have since learned that Marissa had been stabbed in the back 5 times. So obviously they have extradited his sorry ass back to Santa Clara County, and he got charged with first-degree murder with the use of a deadly weapon. There was a hearing on the 8th for him, which honestly her loved ones were super disappointed with, because Martin didn't even have the courage to show his face. He was in the building, I guess, but didn't even step inside the courtroom.
We have charged him with first-degree murder and the use of a knife to commit the murder.
20-year-old Martin Mendoza charged with the murder of 18-year-old Marissa DiNapoli. Court documents revealing the teen was stabbed 5 times in the back. The crime believed to be carried out at Anderson Lake, where her body was found by family members searching for her.
It was a lethal and brutal attack, and a knife was used in it, and she was then just left there.
Outside the San Jose courthouse Tuesday, where Mendoza made his first court appearance, prosecutors say DiNapoli and Mendoza had an abusive relationship.
I think there's going to be evidence about the nature of the relationship between the two of them and prior acts of domestic violence, and I think that contributed to the murder in this case.
Cameras were not allowed in the courtroom for Tuesday's arraignment, but Mendoza did not enter a plea, and he failed to step inside the courtroom where friends and family of DiNapoli were seated.
A man who cannot step out after murdering his 18-year-old, 85-pound girlfriend
knowing that all people are here for him, if he cannot face that after running and just step out in front of the courtroom, even be seen by those people, I think
our sister deserves her justice, and I think there's enough for this to go a lot quicker, and so we're expecting, quick results, and we're really hoping for the community to come through and support us with this.
And as of right now, he is being held without bond at the Santa Clara County Jail, and his next hearing is scheduled for September 9th, where I believe he will be making a plea. And I hope for the sake of all her loved ones that justice comes quickly. But as we know, sometimes it does just take time. And in this case specifically, justice does not end with a conviction. And a huge reason why I wanted to talk about Marissa's case specifically was because of the efforts that her loved ones have made to call attention to what they are saying was racial and systemic bias during the investigation. I want to go ahead and just read you guys a Facebook post that sort of lays out what they say happened and what needs to happen as a result. Marissa DiNapoli, our baby sister, was just 18 years old when she was tragically murdered. She was reported missing on Monday, June 30th. Her body was found 2 days later, on Wednesday, July 2nd, by members of our family and the community in a search coordinated by my sister, Monisha Ramirez. We want to thank the countless community members who searched for Marissa and helped bring her home. Your kindness and determination touched us so deeply. We're so grateful for your love, your action, and your belief that Marissa's life mattered. The love Marissa gave and the love she received continues to echo across the Bay Area. Marissa was the youngest of 8 siblings born to Julian Sr. and Anita Sr. Ramirez. Because of challenges within our family, she was adopted through Child Welfare Services by the DiNapoli family, who gave her a loving home. We are all former foster youth who grew up in the South Bay. Many of you helped raise us, and we've never forgotten that. Despite the odds, my siblings and I have grown into community leaders, educators, and professionals with degrees from UCLA, Stanford, Columbia, Berkeley, SJSU, SF State, and CSU-MB. And now we're asking for your help again. In the most critical early hours of Marissa's disappearance, the Morgan Hill Police Department failed to respond with the urgency the situation demanded. And then they list out the timeline of events. The day after Marissa was reported missing, her sister provided police with the exact location of Martin Mendoza Jr., the last person seen with Marissa. 2, officers confronted Mendoza in person, yet did not arrest or detain him for questioning. 3, he fled within hours of that encounter. 4, days later, a community member, not the police, discovered Marissa's body. 5, Mendoza was only apprehended by accident, attempting to cross the U.S.-Mexico border a week after Marissa's death. We believe racial and systemic bias contributed to their inaction, costing us precious time. Their delay compromised not just Marissa's safety, but public safety as a whole. We are calling for an independent investigation and formal audit of the Morgan Hill Police Department's handling of this case. Our community deserves answers. Morgan Hill deserves better. Marissa deserved better. We've launched a petition calling for an independent investigation and audit of the Morgan Hill Police Department. If you believe in accountability, transparency, and justice, please sign and share. Your voice matters. Your signature brings us closer to real change. We are also seeking support and guidance from anyone with experience navigating this kind of legal or civic process. If you've worked in public policy, advocacy, police oversight, community organizing, or anything related, please reach out. A connection could make all the difference. You helped us find Marissa. Now help us make sure this never happens to someone else's sister. With love and strength, Julian, Moses, and the Ramirez siblings. I will, of course, have that linked in the description box or the show notes if you're listening to this episode, and I hope you guys take a moment to sign that for them. You guys always really come through for the families that we talk about here on this show. I mean, right now, that is the best way that you can show them your support, and I'm just very appreciative of how you guys really always show up as active true crime consumers. And I agree with them that this was not handled the way it should have been, especially when they had Martin right in front of them, and they did nothing about it. And of course, the Morgan Hill Police Department has said that they did not have any evidence at the time to support his arrest, which, yes, I understand that. But I'm personally of the belief that when you have a family member right in front of you that is telling you that their loved one is missing, and this person needs to be spoken to, that they are dangerous and they have a pattern, a history, I think you find a way to speak with that person. You just do. And when you think about it, they are lucky that Martin chose to re-enter the United States. I mean, he could have chosen to stay in Mexico and have been gone for a long time, maybe even forever. And we've seen that happen with a couple of cases. One that's coming to mind right now is Leslie Palacio. That was another case that I covered about a young girl who was killed by a guy that she knew, and he fled to Mexico where he hid out for years. In fact, back when I covered her case, there hadn't even been an arrest yet. But her killer, Eric Rangel Ibarra, was captured in July of 2024 and finally arrested for her murder. So personally, I don't think it's outrageous for Marissa's family to be upset about how the case was handled. They really could have lost Martin forever and never have seen justice for their sister. So I get that. I do understand where they're coming from, that there wasn't enough evidence to make an arrest. But again, I think they should have taken the time to speak with him. Morgan Hill PD has released a statement. I'm going to read that for you. And I do appreciate that they didn't deflect and they accepted the way that their family is feeling. It said, and this is specifically coming from the chief, "We're not here to comment or judge the way someone grieves. And this is a very tough situation. They lost a loved one. So if the anger is towards us, then the anger is towards us."
Police family says that Morgan Hill police did speak to Mendoza in person. He was not arrested. He was not held for questioning. Then within hours, he was gone. The family believes police should have acted differently with urgency. Thousands in the community are demanding an investigation now into how that investigation was handled.
I'm just like, well, I don't know. He could have hurt my sister. Like, she's missing. She could be hurt, you know, like, he's a suspect because I know he's been abusive, you know, like, here he is. I brought you to him. Ask him the right questions. I don't know. You know, I feel like they had expected me to do their job and got mad at me when I started, you know, doing their job.
Some 4,000 people have already signed that petition online demanding an independent investigation into Morgan Hill PD.
And another reason that I wanted to talk about Marissa's case is because I'm just so impressed with the community's support here. In the wake of her murder, several community events were held to help people process what had just happened, including grief counseling for students, as well as grief and healing circles held at a local community center. They also did something that I think is so valuable and important. They had a domestic violence awareness night. It was called Awareness and Education, and they had an experienced counselor come in and speak to people about recognizing early signs of domestic violence. The nonprofit called Community Solutions came and offered services to survivors and hosted a resource booth for people interested in learning more. Her sister said the community came together when it mattered most. And I just think the whole effort really speaks to how strong Morgan Hill actually is and how committed they are to be there for those who need it the most. Marissa's sister, Moniece, was a victim of domestic violence herself, so she knows firsthand how difficult it is to get away from a partner like this. And I know that we all wish Marissa's situation didn't end up the way that it did. And I did think this was really sweet. During one of the events, her sister mentioned how Marissa likely would have been super embarrassed by all of this attention. I guess she just wasn't super into being in the spotlight, but now that she is, unfortunately, probably never the way that anyone imagined could have been possible, I do think it's important that her story can help spread awareness and shed light on domestic violence and really help so many others out there going through these situations right now. It's sad that it's still such a prevalent issue, and sadly, I believe it will be for a long time, if not for the rest of time. Unfortunately, maybe that sounds really bleak, but I don't know. I worry for humanity because we don't seem to prioritize this in teaching our young people how to treat other human beings. And therefore, it's an issue that we need to continue talking about for all time. Intimate partner violence alone affects more than 12 million people every year. And over 35% of women and 28% of men in the U.S. have experienced rape, physical violence, and or stalking by an intimate partner in their lifetime. And with those numbers, they're very high, but you have to keep in mind that they are definitely higher than that because those only reflect instances that get reported. And as we know, a lot of it doesn't. The reality is so many people experience domestic violence. I feel like everyone experiences it to some degree, whether that's to you personally or to someone you love in your lifetime. And if you're out there listening to this right now and you are experiencing domestic violence or have experienced it, It's not something to be ashamed of, but there is ways to help combat it. There are so many great resources out there. Don't feel afraid to reach out to some of those local resources where you live. I mean, there are resources for victims after the fact. There are prevention efforts to keep it from happening in the first place. And so, as always, when this topic comes up, I want to share some of those resources with you. First of all, the National Domestic Violence Hotline is an incredible resource for getting help. I've heard from many of you how it has been a great first step. It helps you to learn how to identify abuse, plan for safety, supporting others, and so much more. So if you know someone who's experiencing domestic violence and they don't know how to get help or they're afraid to, and you want to help them, but you don't know how, calling that hotline is going to be a great first step. So I will have that resource as well as some other resources that are helpful, in my opinion, in the description box of this episode or the show notes if you are listening to this episode. But one thing I want to especially emphasize today is that if someone comes to you and tells you what's going on, tells you that they're being abused, please believe them. Be someone that someone else can feel comfortable confiding in. And if possible, help them come up with a safe way to get away from their abuser. And I completely understand if you feel that you cannot personally get them that help, or you don't know where to start, you're overwhelmed or scared. There are resources out there that can help you help them. Now, to Marissa's loved ones, oh my God, I am so sorry for what you guys are going through in this time. I mean, it has not been long at all. I'm sure it's extremely fresh, and not a moment of your day goes by where you aren't thinking about Marissa and what happened. It's so unfair. I really, really hope for justice for you all. You know, not only with Martin, but with the police department, whatever that looks like for you. I'm here. I'm with you. I support you. And again, I would love to help you guys through my foundation. My team will be reaching out to you. And if, you don't want the financial assistance or don't want a grant, we can figure out another way to honor Marissa. I know you have mentioned not needing financial assistance, but I do have a HOPE grant set aside for you if you decide that you want it. I'm definitely going to be following this one. Just horrible, horrible, horrible. Can't believe she's only 18 years old. I mean, really just getting started. It's just beyond words. But that is going to be it for today's episode, you guys. I will be back next week to discuss another case with you. But until then, stay safe out there.